This Ambetter Health 400 betting picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Gametime, your home for the lowest price last-minute tickets. Download the Gametime app today and use promo code SGPN for 20% off. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play Underdog Pick'em for a chance to win 100x. Promo code SGPN at underdogfantasy.com for a 100% deposit match. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month and start making smarter bets today.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
And 5 days a week, 365 days. Okay, maybe not that many a year. We are talking racing things. It is, of course, the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He is Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Cody, we got just so blessed yesterday to actually have truck odds way early, which sort of made our schedule okay again because we were almost going to have to skip a day and kind of come back to it today with Cup, but thank goodness we didn't. And now today, Cody, we get to do Cup. How blessed are we?
Back on track. Cup Series picks. It's all up. Appreciate it, Books. Thanks for giving us all the options. A lot of stuff out there this week. We love it. Welcome back. If you joined us last week, we appreciate you checking it out again. Excited to break down the race in Atlanta this week. Like Rod said, we had the Truck Series pod yesterday, so go back and listen to that. Xfinity Series pod will be tomorrow. And then, of course, finish up the week with some DFS. Some Underdog on Friday. I don't even know what to. We were just talking about it. So our week is so screwed up because the race was on a Monday and nobody even knows what day it is anymore.
It's funny how our internal clock just goes off of race schedule, right? I mean, especially during the season. Granted, last week was the first week of the season, right? The regular season. So we had to adjust again to this, but we didn't even get a chance to adjust to the normal schedule. It was literally an adjusted schedule already. So now we do have to fall into the normal of Sunday, and then what comes Monday is the recap, and then Tuesday, and then, yeah, so bear with us as we get our bearings again because the regular season didn't get off to the right start.
Yeah, exactly. But here we are, ready to pick Atlanta. We're doing it all over again, basically, Rod. So, man, Atlanta, it's going to be lots of similar but different. We'll get into that. Then Daytona. Sort of the same style of racing, but love the chat is lighting up already. Walter was in here early with the let's fucking go, the Atlanta baby, let's fucking go, 30 minutes away. He was counting it down, waiting. Steven with the Ross Chastain pick again. Steven, Rod, and I were just looking through the paint schemes before we jumped on here. Some pretty nice paint schemes. Those are over on the NASCAR app. So let us know your daughter's pick. I know things didn't go well for her last week with Harrison Burton getting taken out in the first two laps. But Walter, again, let's go racing. Cheers, Dos Flacos. And JDK
Cheers,
with money making time. Let's fucking go. Oh, yes, we're back to do it again. I love this. And Danny's not gonna like the show here in a minute. Let's go, Young Money, he says. Kyle Larson, of course. We'll have some thoughts on that in a few minutes.
I know. So we talk about Atlanta and we talk about similar but different. I really like what Derek kind of coined this as, and I don't know if he coined this phrase, but if he did, I'm going to give him full credit because I heard it on his show. Handling super speedway. I like that because there's a little bit more skill involved in this type of a super speedway race than there is the complete and total free for all that is a Daytona, is a Talladega. So Derek I think said that very well, that it's a handling super speedway. So I like that. We're gonna put that into use, Derek, whether or not that's yours or not. I hope it is. We're gonna actually coin this a handling super speedway. So thank you, Derek, for that.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. JDK with the Eric Jones top 10. Stay tuned. We might be talking about that here in a minute. A super intermediate, he says. That's kind of a good one. So again, we talked about this a little bit on the truck race, but Atlanta, it's kind of its own beast, right? It's they've only run, so they repaved it after the 2021 season. So anything you're looking at before, 2021 and earlier, doesn't matter. It's zero correlation to the current track that Atlanta is. They repaved it after 2021. They redesigned it to be a super speedway, to race like a Daytona, race like a Talladega. They bring the super speedway package. So it's going to be the same type of racing, but on a smaller track. Daytona's 2.5 miles. Atlanta's just a little bit, or Talladega is just a little bit bigger than that. Atlanta's a normal 1.5 mile track. So it's everything of the super speedway racing condensed into a smaller thing. Kevin Harvick, let me see. I was listening to Kevin Harvick's new podcast, pretty good podcast. I did like that. Kevin Harvick said, the most intense thing I've ever done is racing at the new Atlanta. And Kevin Harvick's done a few things in his career and in his time as a race car driver. Says it's the most intense thing he's ever done. There's just, not that there's a bunch of time to breathe and relax at Daytona, but it's bigger. The corners are a little wider, sweeping. The straightaways are longer. Atlanta, it's not as much. It's all moving a lot quicker. And like Derek said, it's a handling track. And so you've got to factor that into it as well. So we've only got a 4 race sample size as far as looking at Atlanta specifically. They've raced here twice each season. They'll race here twice this season. A little bit different though. It's here in the spring like it was last season, a little earlier, but instead of being in the summer, they've moved this to be the first race of the playoffs. So they're going to start the playoffs off with a chaotic super speedway or super intermediate race, if you want to go with that, like JDK said. So, but yeah, it's going to be a fun show. So far, it's been top heavy winners, right? We've had 4 races. Byron's won twice here, actually, coming off of a win last week. So you've got that. Chase Elliott has a win here, and Joey Logano has the other one. So we've not seen the big upset winners here yet. We've seen a little bit more of, like Chase Elliott led 96 laps in one of these races. We've seen a little bit more of that where the field kind of settles in and rides a little more, but the big one's still going to happen. You're going to have that element to it, and that's all going to factor in. So it's a solid combination of, in between a Daytona, in between an intermediate, but definitely more of the Daytona Talladega type of racing. So I think you can still look at those, look at super speedways in general, and then obviously weigh in the 4 races that we've had so far at Atlanta.
Well, I mean, and we've labeled them all pack races, right? I mean, this is no longer a restrictor plate or a tapered spacer or whatever the hell you want to call it on any given day. This is all turned into just essentially pack racing. And so there is an art, and there's an art in the next gen car now to pack racing, because it's not the same as it was back in the old days before this new generation car. So again, these guys are still getting used to it, and now they're getting used to it on a much narrower track in Atlanta. The 3 wide stuff is not necessarily going to fly as easily as it does on Daytona.
You'll see it, but it's not.
Oh, you'll see it.
It won't be as comfortable as it was at. Not that it was the super. Well, it was pretty comfortable this past week at Daytona. They were doing it a lot. You'll see it here, but it is not near as comfortable here as it is at a Daytona or at a Talladega for sure.
Yeah. So again, this is a beast in and of itself, and so we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on just, again, the tracks for the last couple of seasons from this. We're not going to get to everybody in the chat. You can't get to everybody now. This is what the best part of it all.
That's the best part, is it's getting so crazy. Kevin, I do have some thoughts on Bowman coming up, so don't worry about that. Aaron says it's Penske's time to win. I'll give you a little bit of a teaser. One of us has a Penske car winning this. Nick Fortune says fade Kyle Larson. Ryan tossed them out for the poll. We do have poll bets are actually up this week, so tossed a couple of those. Chris wants to know if it's safe if he's missed the Corey LaJoie hour. Caught a couple of strays for Larson on the pod this week. Figured he'd take my hits live. Don't worry, you haven't missed anything, Chris. So And Kevin saying that if Larson wins on a super speedway, he'll break the entire NASCAR gambling community. That is true.
That's so beautiful. No, definitely there's plenty to go around. We are gonna give our picks, and yeah, there's a lot of these names that are floating around, and there's no coincidence that these names are hot on our list. So love it for sure. Well, Cody, I'll tell you what, we were just talking about it too before. There's really not a lot of news. These guys didn't have a lot of time to get anything done between now and race time.
Yeah, it's only been 2 days since the race. It's almost time to head to Atlanta. So everybody's just ready to get in the swing of the season. Not much going on really news-wise. So it's about time to get in the picks.
Everybody went home, went to sleep, got up, and started going to Atlanta. So that's where we're at as far as the race is concerned. So we will come back, and we're just going to get right into the picks because we just can't wait for it. So let's do that. But first, let me remind you how much buying tickets actually does suck. Man, I don't got to remind you. You know exactly how much buying tickets sucks, especially when you don't know if you're going to be able to go to your event until a couple of days before you're supposed to go, or maybe even sometimes the same day. I don't know. Sometimes plans change and you're like, oh, wait, I can go to this. But then you log on to whatever ticket app you were buying before and you see that the prices are inflated. And then you wonder if you're going to even get your tickets in time. And then you wonder if you're going to be able to get real tickets and not get gouged by third party. Man. You know what's great? Gametime takes away all that stress. Gametime, you just buy your tickets with the Gametime app. You know you're going to get that guarantee. They're going to be on time. They're going to be authentic. No one's going to try to sell you fake tickets. You're going to get the lowest fees. You're going to get better prices, and all for these last-minute ticket deals and the tickets that you buy way ahead of time. If you're a planner and you can stick to your plans, good for you. Gametime even takes more stress out of the whole process for you, too. Plus, it's made for your phone. Tickets come right to your phone. You don't have to wait in the mail for them, and you're going to get a picture of where you're sitting and what you're going to see from that seat. So many great things about Gametime. So snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code SGPN for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We love Underdog Fantasy, and Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. NBA, NHL, college basketball, NASCAR, F1. So much to choose from. Simply pick higher or lower or better or worse on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. You can win 100x with some spicy plays. We're going to give you plenty of Underdog plays later on this week, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that, our special Underdog Pick'em show and DFS. So watch along, make your picks, maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website. It's underdogfantasy.com. And when you sign up with the promo code RACESGPN, Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code RACESGPN. And make sure you do that, please. We are in a heated battle with the rest of the shows out there, and we would love to kick their ass and show them that the NASCAR Gambling Podcast has the most interactive and best audience out there. So go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Go grab somebody else's phone and sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code RACESGPN. They're going to thank you. We're going to thank you. And we all love you very much.
Love it, Rod. I was looking at Gametime while you were talking about that there. They have some Cup Series tickets throughout the season as low as $32 for a Cup Series ticket. You have that $20 off. That's $12 you'd be paying for a Cup Series ticket. So look into that. Yeah, like you said, it's hard to keep up on the chat. Dos Flacos with an absolutely disgusting. We need that the Joe Buck clip when Randy Moss mooned everyone, and he's like, "That is a disgusting act." We need that clip. Not even gonna. You have to be on the YouTube for that one. Not even gonna say it. I think Chris is just here to hate me anymore. He wants Voldemort to win this weekend. And King checking in saying that hates the super speedway races. Ready for Las Vegas again. If you're newer to the NASCAR betting scene, if you're getting into it this year or whatever the case is, this is another week of take it easy, pretend you're losing all of them, kind of spread your shots out there. Next week is where we really get into it. So that'll be the more, it's more normal, quote unquote, racing at least, and a little easier to kind of break down and handicap. But that being said, Rod, we still have plenty of opportunities to cash this weekend in Atlanta. And you know how much I love betting on super speedways. So should we get into the picks?
Yeah, we should. Although I know we're all ready for Vegas. I'm especially ready for Vegas because
Rod's going to be there.
If you missed it in the truck episode, I got approved. I'm going to be going to Vegas for hopefully all 3 days. I'm hoping to make my schedule work for all 3 days, the truck, the Xfinity, and the Cup races, but I'll be there.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah, he's going to have the media pass, get the up-close access. So Make sure you're following him on Twitter, RJ Villagomez. Make sure you're following the show at NASCAR Gambling. He'll be posting plenty of stuff over there for sure. All right, Rod. It's already been brought up in the chat. It's been brought up in the Discord. Shout out to the Discord, by the way. We got people in the Discord that are making trackers for which races you can bring alcohol into. So if you're not in the Discord, you're missing out. All right. So get over there, sg.pn/Discord. That'll take you to it. Get to the NASCAR channel. Anyways, Rod, I was looking for my tablets here. Couldn't quite find them. Can you remind me what the commandment is for super speedway racing?
Thou shalt always, and I repeat, always fade Kyle Larson, no matter how good he looks.
Absolutely. That is the commandment, and that sticks true. Now, next week, when we get to Las Vegas, Kyle Larson's going to be one of the favorites for a very good reason. Again, one of the best drivers in the world, not good at super speedways. Specifically, Rod, not been good at this new Atlanta racetrack. It has been rough for Kyle Larson. I've updated my stat because it has changed. He's now 1 for 42 on super speedways and getting inside of the top 5. One finish in 42 super speedway starts in the Cup Series. 11th place last week, but again, kind of an outlier. And honestly, I'm happy it happened because we still cashed the Bowman head-to-head, and it's given us the gamut of great head-to-heads this week because the books were something like, oh, maybe he's good at these, and threw him back up against all the good people, which is absolutely amazing. So I've got 3 head-to-heads against Kyle Larson. That's what I'm going to take. I know somebody had mentioned in the chat about thinking it was a head-to-head week with Walter saying he felt like matchups the way to go to this week. Still not big on the matchups this week. These are the only ones I'm taking is against Larson. I'm sticking to what's made me money for years at this point. William Byron, who just won the Daytona 500 last week, Rod, has won twice at Daytona, twice at Atlanta on this new configuration. He's won half the races in the new configuration against Kyle Larson, minus 115 at Caesars. Yes, please. Superbook has got Bubba Wallace against Kyle Larson, plus 105. Yes, please. And FanDuel, thanks to our buddy Zero in the Zero, it's Zero and then a bunch of numbers. But shout out to him in the Discord because he just dropped in that Blaney is head-to-head with Larson, minus 112 on FanDuel. Give me all 3 of these. Look, Larson, 4 starts here at this new Atlanta, Rod. 36th, 31st. He did have a 13th in there, and 30th. 3 times he's finished 30th or worse in 4 races on this new track. And I've heard some people saying, well, if there's a super speedway he's going to win, it's probably this week because it's the more handling and stuff. He's not even come close. He's 13th place was one decent finish, but 3 finishes 30th or worse in 4 races is pretty crazy. You go back and you look at Daytona, yeah, he had that 11th, but 27th, 18th, 37th, 32nd. Talladega, you got a 15th in there, 33rd, 18th, you got a 4th. That was his one career top 5, right? 37, 40, 39, some of his most recent results there. William Byron obviously won this past week. He's won at Atlanta twice. Now, he has been a little hit and miss at Atlanta because he's won twice, but he's also got a 30th and a 32nd, so I will toss that out there in against the Byron camp, but still trust him more when it comes to super speedway racing. Won, of course, at Daytona this past week, had an 8th place in his last start there. Talladega, most recently, a 2nd, a 7th, a 12th, a 15th. Again, he's getting good, solid results. So love that for Byron. Bubba Wallace just finished 5th last week in the 500. So both these guys beat Kyle Larson this past week as well. Hasn't been as good for Bubba. He's got a 25th and a 27th at Atlanta, but also a 14th and a 13th. And again, his super speedway racing in general is just better. I didn't have time to write down any of the Blaney stats here, but it's Ryan Blaney on super speedways. Obviously, he took a couple of nasty hits at Daytona. We know that, but still better in general. I think this sets up perfectly. Kyle Larson had a good week at Daytona. He got to the end, but the history shows us he just generally doesn't make it to the end. He's not been good since they've repaved Atlanta. It's a tighter track, so maybe the less avoidance to be able to get it out of these wrecks. He just gets caught up in them. He gets swept up in them. That's how it works. Again, if Kyle Larson wins a super speedway, it won't completely shock me because he's done it he has won an Xfinity on the super speedway before. Just different racing, different cars. We get it, but and he's one of the greatest drivers in the whole world, as you know. But you got to keep fading him because he just has not gotten it done so far. So I know that was a long fade Kyle Larson segment, but needs to be said. It's been a moneymaker for years at this point. It's an auto thing, and the books over adjusted very quickly based on one result. Jump on it, take advantage this week. Those are the matchups I'm targeting.
Listen, the only thing here is that if you consistently do this, if you consistently bet this, you're winning. And yes, you're going to take a hit every once in a while. It hasn't happened in a long time. So you have been consistently, like you said, been winning money on this commandment. So yeah, if you take a lump that he does good, okay, that's the one, because then next week or the next time around, you're going to go back to doing it again. So it's an outlier, right? It's not a pattern. It's just a happen.
All three of these guys have won on super speedways. Byron's won 4 super speedway races. Blaney's got I think he's won at Dega twice and maybe Daytona once as well. And Bubba's won at Talladega as well. They're all winners against Larson. You got to keep fading him until we see otherwise. And if he gets an 11th and beats you on a couple of these, it's fine. It's still head-to-heads on super speedways are always more risky than the normal head-to-head on a week-to-week basis because it's super speedway racing. So keep that in mind, but love continuing to fade Kyle Larson on these. And I'm probably going to bet on Kyle Larson at Vegas just so everyone realizes I don't hate the guy.
I mean, you're going to have to at this point, right? Just to save your face. But all right, I will give you my first pick, but I also want to give you a big plug for Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NBA season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NBA and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark. Join over 30,000 users researching the Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. So earlier in the comments, we had a JDK talking about Eric Jones, 100% top 10. Eric, I'm gonna go with you on that one there, JDK. I absolutely love Eric Jones' top 10 number. That is at plus 180. You look at Eric Jones over the last four races here, the last 2 years on this track. Since the repave, he has been the 8th in total speed rankings. He is ranked 8th on this track in total speed rankings. He was 12th in the Atlanta 2022, 14th. 12th in the Atlanta 2023 as far as speed rankings is concerned, and 7th last season for an average of 11.3 average rank as far as speed is concerned. Well, if you tell me that's one position or 1 1/3, almost 2 positions outside of the top 10, that means he can definitely sneak his way inside of a top 10. What's he done on this track since? Well, his finishes have been fantastic, actually. It's funny because he's 8th in speed ranking, but in the fall of 2022, he ended up finishing 4th. In the spring of 2023, so last year's race, he finished 8th here. And then in the fall of 2023, he finished 11th. In the only other race that was outside of anything, it was 14th in the spring of. So we're talking top 15 finishes. And as we know, in pack racing, if you're in the top 15, you can very easily move your way inside of the top 10. And he's done it twice out of the 4 times that they've been on this configuration of Atlanta. He has finished inside of the top 10. I know it's not necessarily as sexy of a number as you want it to be, but plus 180 is definitely a good number for Eric Jones to be able to get inside the top 10 again. And by the way, he finished 8th last week at Daytona. So these Toyotas, these brand new Legacy Motor Club Toyotas are actually doing well, with the exception of Jimmy, who can never finish a race, damn it. He'll get there though. Once he finishes, I'll have the champagne and I'll pop it. But
coming at Dover. That's I'm saving my Jimmy bets for Dover.
And now you know what, they're gonna have to put the 84 Carvana car up there if that happens. But I will say that I'm definitely high on Eric Jones. And listen, give me his teammate too. His teammate John Hunter Nemechek. Joe Nemechek. I was watching I Am Harvick today, and I saw Joe.
Rod's thinking back to those Army car days.
I'm pining for those 01 days. John Hunter, the son. John Hunter at plus 260 for a top 10 finish as well. I mean, listen, pack racing that puts you closer to your teammates, closer to your manufacturers, which we saw. John Hunter finished 7th, right, and Eric Jones finished 8th. So I think they can be in for another finish like that, back-to-back finish between those two teammates. And if you're taking one at plus 180, you might as well take the other at plus 260 just to sort of get yourself double the money when they both come in. And it could be 9th, 10th, right? It doesn't have to be 4 or 5. It doesn't have to be anything. It could be 9th, 10th, and you're still cashing this bet. So I think both of those legacy guys can get in the top 10. So might as well bet them accordingly.
Yeah, I love it. I've actually got more thoughts on Nemechek here in a few minutes. And Eric Jones, a solid guy on super speedways. Kevin S. with the book should offer special speedway bets like head-to-head driver A versus driver B who wrecks first. That's kind of what the matchups are anyways for the most part. But yeah, that would be the Fade Harrison Burton segment if they offered that, because he seems to be the first one caught up in all these wrecks for sure. JDK wants to know if Briscoe versus Larson head-to-head on a super speedway, which side would you bet on? It's a very clear answer because in 18 starts, Chase Briscoe has 2 career top 5s. So he's done a lot more in a lot less starts. He's also beat him 3 or 4 times at Atlanta. And yeah, so give me the Chase Briscoe side of things. I don't know if you're actually being offered that, but if it's out there, I would still take it. Sorry, Kyle Larson again, but just how it goes. Someone wanted some Alex Bowman love in the chat earlier as well. I've got some Alex Bowman love for you. I'm going to take him to be a top 5 finisher, plus 320. Top finishing Chevrolet, 9-1 for Alex Bowman. Look, Alex Bowman, second place at Daytona last week. You know, again, if Dale Jr. had such a good rant on the person pushing the button deciding the Daytona 500, which I completely 100% agreed with, and we need to find some different type of way to figure this out. But if that person waits half a second later, they already waited a second. They could have waited half a second later. Alex Bowman is the Daytona 500 champion. He's going to come in this week wanting to prove that maybe that should have been him and that he can do it, that he can get it done. So love Alex Bowman this week. 4 starts here. He's got a 32nd and a 26. So he's gotten caught up in the shit a couple of times as speedways go, but he's also got a 10th and a 14th place finish. You go back to his last 3 races at Daytona, second place, obviously this past week here at Daytona, and then a 6th and a 5th in the 2 before that. Talladega, 28th in the fall, but 13th and 9th in the 2 races before that. He's kind of been quietly a pretty solid super speedway guy. We saw the Hendrick cars kind of working together, doing a good job. Him and Bowman, or him and Byron might have helped take out half the field to get their first second place finish. But hey, you got to survive it. They survived it. They made it to the end. I think he could do it again. I think he's a good value at top 5 at plus 320. And then top finish in Chevrolet at plus 900, I think is kind of a little bit sneaky. I know, again, Chevrolets dominate the field. There's a lot of Chevys. It is a little harder to get to be that top Chevrolet, but we've seen it before. I've cashed top Chevrolet bets on super speedways in 9th place. That's the one that always pops into my mind is 9th place. All you had to do was finish in 9th place, cash the top Chevrolet. Guys like Corey LaJoie have done it before, stuff like that. So definitely very possible for Bowman to do it. So Alex Bowman, top 5 plus 320, top Chevy 9-1.
At some point, Hendrick has to reassert dominance, right? I mean, last season was sort of a just an off season for all of them, and 2 of them get hurt. Kyle Larson's not winning 600 races, and William Byron is winning 6, but still can't come up with a championship. So for Hendrick, it's it's one of those, we got to do it this year, and I think this is a good start. And for Alex Bowman, we talked a lot about at the beginning of his season last year, right? How we thought for sure that he was going to carry his dominance all through the rest of it. So maybe it resumes this week or reconvenes this week, and he gets off to a better start as well. So definitely like that for this camp. All right. Speaking of which, I'm going to take 2 teammates that were actually working together last week in the Daytona 500 for a half a second. It was very weird to see Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch sort of working together there for a hot second, right? That 11 and 8 car sort of rekindling old times back in the day. So the Caesars has this special of Hamlin and Busch to both finish inside of the top 5. I'm going to go ahead and take it. Why not? Denny Hamlin, when you look at total speed rankings here at the Atlanta over the last 4 races, he's inside of the top 5. He is 4th as far as driver rankings, tied with Blaney in that regards. Kyle Busch, not necessarily there with them. He's 24th in that, but of course we know that Kyle Busch overall is a damn good race car driver. He had a really off beginning of the season last year. It was a kind of hot and cold start to his season, right? He came out,
won the second race of the season last year.
yeah, in Vegas, but
Auto
then
Club, I think.
Auto Club
Was that second race? Yeah, I think.
That was last year, Cody.
That was a long time ago. That track doesn't even exist anymore. So.
Let's not. Yeah, that track, it's gone. But yeah, again, so we know that Kyle Busch is fully capable of being a fast car and being able to stick with the lead pack and work with a guy like Denny Hamlin. And we saw last week, like I said, that they were both sort of working together. The finishes weren't there for pretty much either one of them. Kyle Busch finished in 12th, and then we know Denny Hamlin didn't get the finish he wanted out of the day either. So it'll be tough to kind of rebound for both of them. But again, both of these cars, solid cars. I don't have to sing the accolades of either one of them to you because they're already well documented. So to put them both inside of the top 5 at plus 650, I think I like the prospects of that.
2 guys in the top 5 at a super speedway can be tough to do, but I think the number is right. So I like that. Steven tossing out Logano and Bread. Keselowski, of course, top 10, plus 175 for both. That's not bad, obviously, 2 elite super speedway guys. I saw him get caught up in it last week. That's always a risk, but plus 175, not a bad number there as well. Did you fill in this next bet for me, Rod? Do I have Daniel? Am I placing a bet on Daniel Suarez?
So listen,
is this right?
Well, here's what happened. So I got it in the doc, and you had typed something weird, and I auto-corrected it to Suarez. So yeah,
I'm actually in on Daniel Suarez this week. A monumental moment on the show. I'm not sure I've ever bet on him before, but he's actually been really
doing it in the past too. So
that's you. He's been really good at Atlanta here in the past, which is. It's just, man, I couldn't help it. I had to do it. So give me Daniel Suarez, top 10, plus 160, over on Bet365. I think top 10 is appropriate. At top 5, I could see maybe getting a little harder for him to get in, but I think he can survive stuff, get to the end of this. You go back to last season, he finished second place in the spring in this race. Last fall, he finished 29th in this race, but he was 6th place before the final wreck. Got involved in the wreck and took him out. And that's part of super speedway racing, right? But he was running up there late. And then he's 6th and 4th in his other 2 starts. So 4 starts on this track, since the repave. 3 times he's finished inside the top 6. Hard to argue with numbers like that for Daniel Suarez. And then you go back and you look, he was 7th place last week in the Daytona 500. Very quietly, survived till the end, got there. That's inside the top 10. And his last 3 at Talladega, Rod, 10th, 9th, and 8th. So all inside the top 10. Again, probably not a guy I'm going to pick to win a super speedway race at this point, right? I don't know that he's aggressive enough for that. I don't know that he can get up there, but it seems like he's got somewhat of an ability to survive, especially at Atlanta. He's been getting it done. So give me Daniel Suarez for maybe the first time ever. Top 10, plus 160.
You will never hear me ever say that I don't like a Daniel Suarez bet. Now, again, it's only because I think he's got the potential to do it each and every time he sets foot on the track. It's just a matter of how that potential is played out throughout the course of the race. So I want to see him succeed. I do, because I think it's good for the sport. I think it's good for him. And it's good for Trackhouse. And we know that we're pretty high on Trackhouse altogether. Dos Flacos, Brad Caterek, everyone behind you is minus 270.
Minus 270 on Superbook. If you wanted a lock for the weekend, that is the lock. Keselowski is the most aggressive pusher we've possibly ever seen on super speedways, and he is not afraid to shove you out of the way, even if it's 3 laps into the Daytona 500. So, that's how it goes.
Well, and that's pretty funny though. But I'm actually going to go, and so you had Suarez, but I already had this before you even had Suarez. I have his teammate. I'm going to take Ross Chastain as a top 3 car here. His top 3 number is set at 7-1. So I really, really like this number for Chastain as a top 3 car in this race. And honestly, to me, this is one of the I think somebody said Chastain. There's a Chastain direct for the football field. That's funny. No, but for Chastain,
it wasn't funny last week when we had bets on him, Ron.
No, you're right. You're right. Not necessarily the greatest speed ranking on this track altogether. But what I will say is that his last couple of finishes in 2022. Now, last year was a rough year for him. He had 13th and a 35th place finish. He was on the DVP clock and he never recovered. But the year before that, 2 runner-up finishes on this track. We talked too a little bit about the whole Ross Chastain getting slapped. And that was the fall race. That was really what, and a DVP doesn't necessarily correlate with being slapped on the wrist and not driving as aggressively as he should, but it just felt at parts of the season that Ross Chastain wasn't taking the kind of chances that he was taking last season when he managed to get 2 second place finishes out of this race. Not to mention, in both of those races, he led laps. He led 42 in the spring race of 2022, and then 32 the following in the fall, right? So he was a fast car. He was up front for most of the race, and then led 5 laps in that 2023 race, only finishing 13th in that one. But still, we know how good Ross Chastain is. We know how good that Ross Chastain can be. Like I said, the speed rankings don't prove it. He's 18. He's averaged 18th over the last 4 races as far as speed ranking is concerned. But when you look at those finishes,
doesn't matter on super speedways.
Does not matter on super speedways.
Doesn't.
No, it doesn't, because you look at his green flag speed too. That's 12th. He's 12th on the list in green flag speed in 2022s, and he still finished 2nd. So I mean, if he's not even one of the fastest cars up there, he knows how to put it up there and put it where it counts when it's done. He was 2nd in total speed, green flag speed in 2022 fall, and finished 2nd in that race. So I'm telling you, Ross Chastain, top 3 finish. 7-1 is crazy number for that to happen, though.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm glad you got some Chastain on your card, because I felt sad leaving him off after being close to hitting him last week. Didn't find a way to put him in the card this week. So something to note as well. We had this conversation in the Discord earlier. The single car speed doesn't matter here. So whatever they do in qualifying doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you start. You can win from anywhere. That will come into play next week, right? And then we'll definitely adjust things based on qualifying, based on practice times, all that. But this week doesn't matter. Catching up on the chat real quick. Myron, side note, just saw the F1 testing results from today. Looks like this season is going to be a repeat of last season. Yeah, Max is a second and a half faster than everyone. So just go bet him minus 8,000 to win everything, I guess. So lost profit. What's up, fellas? Happy to be back at it. Going to be a good year. We agree with you. So yeah, in Hamlin KFB, isn't that the play you just gave out? Yeah. Plus
yeah.
6.
No. I gave you Chastain.
Well, the play before though was Hamlin and Busch.
Yeah. The play before.
So yeah, that's the one. Stevens, you're behind, Steven. Rod already gave it out, but no, it's okay. Guy you talked about earlier, John Hunter Nemechek. He's next up on my list. Rod, I'm going to take him to be the top finishing Toyota, 15-1 over on Caesars. Again, we're back to the Toyota thing, and it's just a big group, right? And it's a bigger group this season. I get that. There's 8 cars. No Jimmy Johnson in this race, so it will be 8, not 9. But John Hunter Nemechek finished in, where did he finish last week? 7th place at the Daytona 500. A nice, strong, solid run, right? He was the 3rd finishing Toyota, but again, if some of these Toyotas get caught up in the wrecks, some of these guys don't do it. Denny Hamlin, plus 200 or plus 260 to be the top finishing Toyota, and yet John Hunter Nemechek beat him last week. And that's really that's the entire case for why you take the longer shot in this. So Bell ends up 3rd, Bubba 5th, and then it was John Hunter and Eric Jones, and so on and so forth from there. But I think it's just grossly mispriced at 15-1 when, it's plus 260 for Denny, plus 420 for a couple other guys. Ty Gibbs is 8-1 as the 7th listed Toyota, and then John Hunter's a 15-1. You're giving me a group, just a large group, with a guy that's much higher priced than anyone else, who just finished 7th last week. By the way, speaking of paint schemes, his car, it's the 42 car, which Jamie McMurray drove Haviland for all those years, and it looks great. So, yeah, it's I love it. I think 15-1, solid for him. He actually won the Xfinity race here last summer, and the last time Xfinity was here. Doesn't have any Cup Series starts on the repaved Atlanta, so nothing to look at there. But his other time he was on here in Xfinity, he was in 8th place, had a 3rd place finish in one of the 2 truck races he started here. And again, 7th place last week at Daytona, kept it clean, got safe till the end. So I think that's enough, and it's grossly mispriced. I think at this price at 15-1 over on Caesars for John Hunter to be the top finishing Toyota.
Well, again, to me, all it takes is for him and Eric Jones to just lock horns for a while and find their way up to the front. And, Again, it just all it takes is for them to find that right groove and get pushed in the right direction. And if they're in the front and if they're anywhere near anybody that can help push them there, then yeah, I think good things are in store. And I like the number because again, these top Toyotas, these top Chevys, we've seen it happen more often than not that even the top guys in the entire field will start wrecking out and take everybody out. And those people that are nicely behind them benefit from that. So I love it. All right. I am going to go with the winning manufacturer. I didn't do this last time at Daytona. So I'm actually going to go for a winning manufacturer on this one. And I'm going to take, I know that it's the chalk. I know that it's the I guess the favorite on the board, but Chevy at plus 155. More often than not, you still see the Chevys or especially when Chevy's the top manufacturer, you don't really get a 155 out of this. You sometimes don't even get plus money on Chevy to be the winning manufacturer. So, or it's close to, plus 100 or minus 105 or whatever. So I'm definitely going to take the chance on this one. Why? Well, to be frank, Chevy's won 4 of the last 5 on this track. And all of those are the ones that count, right? We talk about before that doesn't really count. Ford had won 5 in a row before the repave. And since then, Chevy has won 4 out of the 5. Ford snagged the only other one in there. So to me, that's pretty much dominance. That says to me that Chevy's got it figured out on this track. You go back to 2023 in the fall, Chevy's made up 4 of the top 5 cars in the field. Michael McDowell, the only Ford to bust through that Chevy line. The 1 year where Ford won it, they had 2 Fords, a Toyota and a Chevy. So the year Ford took it down, they actually were able to get that. But the year before that, it was Chevy that had 5 of the 7 cars in the top 10, which again asserts dominance in that. Chevy again in the spring rather of 2022, 6 of 7 in the top 10. I mean, honestly, that's all you need to know. And if they can get 6 cars in the top 10, if they can get 7 cars in the top 10, that says to me one of those is probably going to end up being the winner. And I like that they've done it all 4 times that we've run this super speedway configuration on the track. So plus 155, well, it may not be a gigantic, huge number for you. Cody, if you win a 155 plus 155 bet, does it still feel good?
It does. It does, okay. In fact, still feel good. Also, Rod, I'm giving out 4 outrights today to win this. Spoiler alert, all 4 Chevrolets. All 4 Chevrolets, including Rod. Oh, it's Corey LaJoie time, baby. Get out the car lift. We're going to Atlanta. It's time to bet on Corey LaJoie. He cashed for us last week at Daytona. Got a nice, solid top 5. You know the stats. You know how good he is on the super speedways. Not going to repeat it all, but at Atlanta in particular, 2022, 2 laps to go. Corey LaJoie crosses the line leading. I'm holding a 250-1 ticket, screaming at my TV. He gets put in the wall. Doesn't finish very good, unfortunately. Did not cash that day. But second place this race in the spring last season. Last fall, he was 20. Or wait a minute. I'm looking at the wrong. Oh, boy. I was so excited. I was looking at the wrong person. I was looking at the Daniel Suarez stats. But 31st place in the fall. Did get caught up in a wreck early and went out. 4th place in this race in the spring last season. 21st in the summer of 2022. But, Rod, that's when he took 2 laps to go, crossed the line as the leader. Chase Elliott, of course, puts him in the wall and ends up winning the race. And then 5th place in the other Atlanta race. So he's got a 4th, a 5th, and a 21st and a 22nd. In the 22nd, again, a little misleading because he was leading with 2 to go. 4th place at Daytona this past weekend. All in on Corey LaJoie again. So we're going to ride the car lift all the way to the top. Top 5 finish, 6-1. Top 10 plus 220. Top 3, 12-1. Top Chevrolet, 20-1. They're catching up, Rod. The books are getting there. 40-1 to win over on BetMGM. Still like it. All in on Chase Elliott, or not on Chase. I'm in on him too. Spoiler alert. But all in on Corey LaJoie this week. Gosh, I was so excited. I fucked all of that up. But Corey LaJoie, car lift, right to the top again. Look, it paid off for us last week. He got in the top 5. I hate how popular of a underdog pick he's becoming because I've been on the Corey LaJoie train, 250 to 1 before anyone else was there. But we're gonna ride it until it cashes. This might be the week. You got to be on Corey LaJoie. And again, of all 3 Superspeedways, Atlanta has been his best easily in the 4 races we've had here. So ride the Corey LaJoie car lift. Take us to the promised land yet again.
You have no one to blame but yourself. I'll tell you that one right now.
Going back into Walter wants to know if I'm excited or nervous. Combination of both, but mostly exciting. Also, 33 to 1 we cashed last spring in this race. Top Chevrolet finishing in 4th spot on Corey LaJoie. Also had his top 5, his top 10. Of course, he rode the car lift then as well. So he paid big for us last year in this race. Got to run it back with that. Paid big for us last week. Running it back again as well.
Yeah, again, like I said, you got no one else to blame but yourself for that, because when you start putting it out there in the world, the people listen. I mean, we know books listen.
I guess they do.
People are listening. So, like, you have single Corey LaJoie needs to like write you personally to thank you for boosting the numbers of his fan club, because you single-handedly have started
Give me the penny stacker of the week when you win this week, Corey. Come on. I've been betting on you since it was 250 to 1. I'm going to hit on you 40 to 1 this week. Give me a shot.
Yeah, he's literally stacking pennies all over that. So, all right, I am going to go to surprise, winning car number, because I feel like this is a good value for the winning car number, as even at -105. I know over the last few weeks we've seen some pretty. Not last few weeks. I suppose the last few weeks of the season. We only had 1 week of the season. Some pretty terrible car number odds for, even or whatever, but this one's not juiced enough for me to go off of it. So -105 for even. Who do you get in even? Well, you get a proven Austin Cindric, who's won at a super speedway-esque race. You get Josh Berry. Hooray. A reason to cheer for Josh Berry. You get Brad Keselowski. You get Kyle Busch, which is one of the big hitters in this one. You do get Noah Gragson, who, had a pretty decent showing in that 10 car in Daytona. Will he win? Probably not, but if he does, you're covered. You get Blaney, you get Briscoe, you get Josh Williams, which is fun for you to cheer for. But really where I'm kind of going is you get Bell, you get Logano, you get Byron, right? You get McDowell if McDowell does not just completely duck out of this race like he did at Daytona. You have fun cheering for Todd Gilliland.
I think McDowell's still logging laps, just drinking a beer, driving around.
I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to figure out when to come into pit, because I think he doesn't figure out, like, he's still out there in Daytona going.
He was saving gas better than anyone.
Where's my help? I don't know what's going on. You get John Hunter, so if John Hunter becomes the top Toyota by winning, you get that as well. You also get Alex Bowman, which is a good one. You get Ty Gibbs, who somebody is already in the chat saying that Ty Gibbs is being slept on. And then you get your good old buddy, BJ McLeod. So love that. I would totally love to see BJ McLeod, try to chug along for he's chartered, right? So he's going to get in?
No, he's not. Well, he's not chartered, but he'll be in because there's not enough entries.
Yeah.
There's only is he in? I guess
is
he entered?
Well,
I didn't even look.
There's
37 entries.
Here.
Yeah,
so
but 40 cars are allowed to race. So
yeah, okay.
36 charters are locked in, obviously, and then he'll be in because he'll be the only open car. So
perfect.
Not a bunch of open cars this week. I guess we probably should have covered that at the beginning. But yeah, everyone will be in the race. Maybe BJ McLeod will cash this for you. Who knows?
This is my I am cheering for BJ McLeod to win this race because I want this number to hit.
There you
go.
That's all. This is imagine hitting a bet on BJ McLeod, and it wouldn't be actually. I think we have hit bets on BJ McLeod before. So
I know that putting an outright on him would be more fun because it's a hell of a big ticket. But
yeah, I don't know if it would be fun because it wouldn't. Although he looked damn good in the dual race.
Yeah, he did.
I was really sad he didn't make the 500 because he does.
Would it feel good though? Would it feel good? Okay, honestly,
would cashing a bet on BJ McLeod feel good? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I'm just saying because
I'm pretty sure.
I wouldn't want.
I know I've definitely hit top 10s on him before at super speedways. I think I've hit on him a top 5 once, maybe even 2. He might have as many career top 5s on the super speedway as Kyle Larson does.
Yeah, that could very
if
well.
That tells you anything. So
Walter or Myron talking about Josh Williams. I think it was around this time when he sat out.
Yeah, that was it. Was it Atlanta or was it Talladega?
I feel like it was.
Might have been Atlanta.
I think it was Atlanta, but I think it was
someone look that up.
Yeah, because it was not.
Yeah, Dos Flacco's chiming in saying it was Atlanta. So there you go. Maybe and Josh We probably should have again mentioned all this at the top of the show, but AJ Allmendinger is not in the 16 car this week. That's of course a rotating car, so that will be Josh Williams in the 16 this week. And then BJ obviously back in the 78. The other rotating car is the 15. Riley Herbst was in that last week. Kaz Gralla in that this week. So really the only driver changes. None of the other open cars are entered, so no Jimmy Johnson. Kaz Gralla is not in the 36 this week. That one's not in there. I don't remember who the other open cars were that made the race. David Reagan's not in this one in the 60. And the other open car that made the race is also not in the race.
Yaley.
Who was it? No, he didn't make the race.
Yaley got kicked out. That's right.
Who was the other open car in the 500?
That was last. That was 3 days ago, Cody. Come on.
It was only 2 days ago. Okay. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So that doesn't matter. Wanted to see. Let's see. Jerry asking for Rod's Untapped name. You mentioned Untapped today. You're gonna get some followers on Untapped now. So
yes, please. Jerry, look for Rod Villagomez. You'll see my happy little.
Really
face.
Tricky to find.
Yeah,
just use his name. Also, Dos Flacos says LaJoy needs to pay me back for all the printer toner I use printing the pics of LaJoy. First of all, it's one picture. It's the same picture. I keep it right here, and I use this. Been using it for years now. Second of all, I didn't print it off. He sent it to me personally himself when I bought a hat from him. So, and it's even look on the back. It says, "Thanks for the support." Signed Corey. So, yeah.
Personally himself. Santa said
what I need to do is take
back
this
when you were 5 years old, Cody.
I'm going to take this to Kansas Speedway with me, in the spring race when I go, and I'm going to see if I can get Corey to sign it because, that would be great.
Yeah. Cody still believed that Santa put that in his stocking when he was 6 years old. So, I love it. All right, listen.
I think me and Corey are about the same age, so I don't know that Corey was that. Maybe it was the Randy LaJoy one I got back in the day.
So it's funny because we're talking about same age. Like I was watching I Am Harvick earlier today, and I finally got a chance to sit down and watch it.
Which, if you haven't seen it, it's running all the time on FS1, so you can catch it, but it is really, really good. You should watch it.
And so my wife looked at him and goes, "How old is he again?" I said, "He's the same age as me, babe. Like he's 48."
He's an old man.
Yeah, we're both old, man. That's why I'm saying I couldn't figure out.
Look at that. Corey's 32. I'll be 32 in March. So we are basically the same age. So
and Jimmy's the same age as me too. So all three of us, Kevin, me, and Jimmy, we're all buddies. All the same
Beautiful. Age. Look at it. All right. Okay, Rod. Outright. We got some winners left to go. So I am going to go over. We had a driver named William that races for Hendrick Motorsports win the Daytona 500 last week, Rod. I think that trend continues. And I think that a William from Hendrick Motorsports is going to win this week. And I think that William is William Clyde Chase Elliott. Got you all there, didn't I? Maybe not, but that's okay. Chase Elliott, I'm taking him to win 13-1 over on BetMGM. This is his home track. He's only made 3 starts here. He was injured for one of them last year, so he missed out. That was one of the races that he missed. Home track, been very good here. When he won, he led 96 laps, rather, a dominating race in the summer of 22. He has the 13th, a 6th, and a 1st place in his 3 starts here. 14th place last week at Daytona. We saw him in the mix at the end. We know how good he is at super speedways. I think that there's a lot of people picking him last week. Wins the Daytona 500. Sets the stage for the comeback. He's starting to get a little pressure on him now because Kyle Larson, we all know, is a top dog at Hendrick. As much as I've been betting against him on super speedways, he's the number one guy, right? Well, this William Byron kid is kind of showing out and showing up. He's getting, he was the successor for the 24 car because we don't know what that means. And, all this love from Jeff Gordon and Chase Elliott's over here being the most popular driver, being like, hey, I'm a champion, needs to get it figured out. I think this week at home, he still lives in Atlanta. He flies to Charlotte for the competition meetings, for the stuff at the shop, literally flies himself. He is a pilot of his own airplane and flies back to Georgia all the time. He lives in Georgia. This is his home race. It means a lot to him to win here. Meant a lot to him when he won here before. I think he does it again. Again, 3 solid finishes in his 3 attempts here. So give me William Clyde Elliott to win this race. Also, I want to do this in the most non-creepy way I can, but I consulted with Steven's daughter about this race. He says damn it, my daughter said Cheddars and Brestree. Guess who drives the Cheddars and Brestree cars? The 2 RCR boys, and I am on them this week as well. Kyle Busch is 16-1 over on Superbook. Austin Dillon 45-1 over on Caesars. Give me both RCR cars. Look, last week Kyle Busch was fast as hell. I know that car speed doesn't necessarily matter on a super speedway, but you saw him go to the back, you saw him race to the front, you saw him go to the back, you saw him race to the front. He literally drove around with a tire not connected by a lug nut, kept the tire in the car, and still drove his way back to the front. He was fast, he was good, he looked solid, won the second race of the year last year. I think he might do that again here at Atlanta. He's been slowly improving in Atlanta. 33rd in the first time they raced here, 20th in the second time, but then 10th last spring, 5th last fall. If he continues to improve, so a 20th, then he doubled his finish, right, to 10th. He doubled his finish to 5th. Now he's going to, I was going to say double, but that wouldn't make sense. He's going to jump up 5 more spots like he did last time, get in first place. So I love Kyle Busch. He finished 12th at Daytona. His last couple starts there, a 7th, a 19th, a 10th, a 6th. He won at Talladega last year. He was also leading the 500 at the end of 500 miles last year. Imagine if the caution light guy would have been a little slower there and we could have hit that one. That would have been nice. But he was also, had a 3rd place at the spring in Talladega in 2022. So he's been a solid super speedway guy. RCR cars have obviously got some stuff figured out on these super speedways. Look at Austin Hill in the Xfinity race. And JDK saying there's a reason 83 is 45-1. What's the reason? He's really, really solid on super speedways. He is a hit and miss guy, right? So he's either going to wreck on lap 3 like he did last week and not finish, or he's going to win you the race. He's won twice at Daytona before. He's had really solid runs. Second place last year at the end of the Daytona 500, at the end of 500 miles, to Kyle Busch. They were working together really well, pushing each other. I think we could see that again this season. So I think 45-1 is a little bit. He's longer than Corey LaJoie is, and he's won 2 super speedway races before. I don't care if he wrecks out on lap 3, but if he can be there at the end of this race and win, I think it's going to be one or the other. And you kind of get that with Austin Dillon, but we've seen him do it before. We know he can do it. Him and Kyle may be working together. We've seen those RCR cars in Xfinity and Cup be solid. So give me Kyle Busch at 16-1 on Superbook. Austin Dillon 45-1 over on Caesars to win the race.
Woo, man, Cody brought out the big guns for all of that as well. For me, I'm going to keep it kind of simple. I really am. I'm keeping it very simple. I'm going with Christopher Bell at 11-1. We saw how fast Christopher Bell was, obviously, at Daytona in the duels. We saw how fast Christopher Bell was in the race itself. But here's what we really need to know, is that when you look at the next-gen total speed rankings from our buddies over there at iFantasy Race, the name at the very top of the list when it comes to Atlanta over the last 4 races, that is young Christopher Bell. He was 8th in total speed rankings in 2022 in the first race. Atlanta 2, he was 1st. Atlanta 1 of 2023, he was 3rd. Atlanta 2023, he was the second one, he was 5th. So he's got an average speed ranking of 4.3, which is better than William Byron at 5.3. And look, the thing about Christopher Bell is I don't normally take Christopher Bell. I get all choked up when I even think about taking Christopher Bell because it's not somebody that I'm very comfortable suggesting on a week-to-week basis because not everybody's got cardboard in their pockets to throw on the track when need be. But Christopher Bell did finish 3rd last week at Daytona right after just a really up and down. He was all over the place. He led 22 laps, but came in behind the 2 Hendrick boys. And
had they run that last lap,
he could have very well.
Byron lost all the run behind him because they were wrecking underneath, and Bowman had shot out there. Bell and Bubba were coming, and Bell very potentially could have won that race had it gone another lap.
Yeah, again, and he really didn't have a whole lot of friends around him either. He did have Bubba Wallace around and John Hunter Nemechek, but I don't think they were close enough to make any sort of edge to make any difference to whether or not he was going to finish better than that. But you look at his finishes, he's only got one really good finish, and this is why I think he's 11-1. He's only got a 3rd place finish. All that total speed ranking and not good finishes for Christopher Bell. So I think that's why you're getting a steal at him at 11-1. So I definitely don't hate him. And then just look, give me Logano at 10-1. Logano should have been much better at Daytona than he was. I feel like, unfortunately, he didn't get he got the raw end of the stick, starting for the pole, right? Led 45 laps, had a fast damn car, and then he wrecked, and then he got wrecked, and then he got collected in that melee of a race or of a wreck that took everybody out in 193. But I feel like he got robbed of a really, really good run. I feel like he probably could have gotten back up to the front and won that race had he not got collected in that wreck. So let's run it back. I mean, for Joey Logano, he's kind of not necessarily up at the top, but he's in the top 10 of total speed rankings overall. 15th in Atlanta, 1 of 2022, 20th. So not a good 2022, but 4th in the first race of Atlanta of 2023, and then 16th. So he's 13.8, 9th overall on that one. And again, for Joey Logano, it's an even year. I'm going to wear that narrative out. And if you get tired of it, you can turn it off. That's fine. I'm all right with that. But please don't. Just know that this is the last time I go back to that. But I think, again, we saw enough out of Logano last week in Daytona to know that he's still good. We can't take that away from him, obviously. And I think he's going to be good again this week. In 20 total starts, he does have 1 win on this track, 3 top 5s, and 7 top 10s. Over the last couple of, obviously, he won that race, this race last year, and then finished 17th after that. But 140 laps that he led in that spring race. That is a dominant, especially on a super speedway-esque type of a race. So, give me Joey Logano to repeat as the Ambetter 400 winner.
It's hard to argue with either of those picks. So, I don't have an argument. Rod, there is poll bets available. I've got 2 poll bets to toss out there. Give me Joey Logano. You just mentioned plus 650. Look, he got the pole last week at Daytona. Obviously, this new Ford must have some speed on the super speedways. It's the same exact package. It worked for him last week. What makes you think we're going to come back here and he doesn't just do it again? He was really fast, and they beat the Chevy guys. We know how much Hendrick puts emphasis on sitting on the front row. They weren't able to do it to 2 Fords that sat on the front row. Joey Logano's plus 650. He won the pole here last spring in the same race and started 4th in the fall race as well. So 2 solid qualifying efforts from him already. And we've got 1 sample size in this new car last week, here, and he's still plus 650. He's the favorite, yes, but that's a good number. So give me Joey Logano to sit on the pole. And then also, Rod, something that makes absolutely zero sense at all to me. Michael McDowell is 30-1 to sit on the pole. He sat outside row 1 last week at Daytona. The race didn't go his way. We just joked about how he's still running laps out there all by himself, right? That's just got to be the most brutal feeling, isn't it? Like, you're just running down a cylinder, whatever the deal was, and he's just, you see the field go, and then here comes McDowell, and then the pack roars by. Just driving around. It's rough, but 30-1 for a guy who just sat outside row 1. Why couldn't he do it again? Again, obviously the dark horse here seems to maybe have an advantage. It's a 1 race sample size, but they were impressive already. We're probably not too concerned about the Toyotas qualifying well here because they looked like trash last week, right? So that opens up more room in the top 10 for these guys to get in there. So McDowell did start 12th here last spring, so had a solid run, not the greatest ever, but they also Steven in the comments, McDowell literally just made a stop at Love's for a slushie before enjoying the drive. Great line, Steven. Appreciate that. That was hilarious. But
listen, when I'm in Vegas, I want to have a beer with you.
Michael McDowell, well, he would probably be a pretty cool guy to have a beer with, I think. So
I think so.
But anyways, Michael McDowell 30-1. I think it's just a ridiculously high number for a guy who's already proven, again, the 1 race sample size we have. This is the same package. They should have the same notes almost they had last week. Different size track and everything. I get it, but just going to run it back with those 2 guys. They sat on the pole. I think both their numbers are good. Joey at plus 650, McDowell 30-1. Give me those 2 guys to sit on the pole for this race.
I love it. And really for me, I do love the Logano poll because I was looking at the polls, but then you got to him first. So I was like, damn it, I can't necessarily get to the polls. So good.
Beat
good
you to
job.
the poll, Rod.
You did beat me. Yeah, you won the poll for the poll bet. All right, listen, if you see me frantically typing over here, I want you to understand that Walter brought up in the
Rod, you're making a graphic on the fly.
I am making a graphic on the fly. So
right, well, you make the graphic on the fly. I'll talk about Walter. Walter, who was in the chat here a little bit earlier. Shout out to him. Also, shout out to Walter, one of the first guys to hit me up. Get a NASCAR Gambling Podcast sticker if you would like one of your own. If you could see it there, I should point it at the camera. There you go. Leave an Apple Podcast review. Send a screenshot. I'll send you a thing. If you sign up for Underdog using the code RACE SGPN, I'll send you one as well. Just hit me up in the DMs. We'll get it out to you. But yeah, Walter did have the great idea on the X. Hey, could we have a graphic maybe pop up at the end with all the picks? I know Rod reads them all over again for people listening on the podcast and stuff, but it is a lot of picks, so it would be nice to have a graphic. So Rod has apparently taken that on himself right in the middle of the show to make. So shout out to Rod for that. How are we doing, Rod? Do I need to keep talking?
No, we're good. So
trying to fill as much time as I can here.
Let me download this. See, here's the great part about you watching on YouTube. You see this happening as it's happening on the podcast. You wouldn't know that I was sitting here typing, and I think that's why I like podcasting better, because you can't really see what I'm doing. So for you guys watching on there, and again, this is another little commercial for you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because the big push now for the SGPN is to sort of also grow our YouTube presence. And so the bosses love to see.
Shout out to all of you guys, because we have. And
yeah.
I mean, you can even see it in the live listeners. Like they continue to get bigger as we go live, which we appreciate. The comps we can hardly keep up with, which is ideal. That's how we want it to be, right? So we love it. So thank you for subscribing to the YouTube. I will actually go ahead and recap the picks for you while Rod finishes getting the graphic uploaded here. So get out your pen and paper.
Ooh.
And here are our picks. Rod started with Eric Jones, top 10 plus 180. Followed it up with John Hunter Nemechek, top 10 plus 260. I went with Fade Larson, hashtag Fade Larson. And here we go. I've got William Byron over him, minus 115 on Caesars. Bubba Wallace over Larson, plus 105 on Superbook. Ryan Blaney over Larson, minus 112 at FanDuel. Shout out to our guy Zero from the Discord for that. Rod had Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, both to finish in the top 5, plus 650. I had Alex Bowman to finish in the top 5, plus 320. Alex Bowman to be the top Chevrolet, 9-1. Rod went back to the watermelon man, Ross Chastain, top 3 boost over on Caesars, I think that was, plus 700. I went with Daniels. Yes, I had the bet on Daniel Suarez. Took him top 10, plus 160 over on Bet365. Rod went to the Chevrolet to be the winning car, plus 155. I have John Hunter Nemechek to be the top finishing Chevrolet, or not in a Chevrolet. John Hunter Nemechek to be the top finishing Toyota, much smaller group, over on Caesars at 15-1. Rod went back to the winning car number, even, minus 105. I have the Corey LaJoie car lift, top 5 plus 600, top 10 plus 220, top 3 12-1. Top Chevy 20-1 to win the race over on MGM, 40-1. And then for outrights, Rod had Christopher Bell 11-1, Joey Logano 10-1. I had Chase Elliott 13-1 on MGM, Kyle Busch 16-1 on Superbook, Austin Dillon 83 45-1 over on Caesars. And then my 2 bets to sit on the poll, Joey Logano plus 650, Michael McDowell 30-1. If you're looking on the YouTube, Walter says that's freaking beautiful, Rod, and I would agree with him. And the JDK says, Rod, you're fucking awesome. Telling you guys, Rod does. I kind of have the big mouth and do a lot of the talking half the time, but Rod does all the behind the scenes stuff. He cuts up all the stuff, uploads video. Well, I don't have to upload videos anymore since we do them live, but
God,
he does all that. I do the sharing on the socials, but Rod does most of the work, is what I'm trying to tell you, folks. So appreciate Rod. He's the engine that keeps us going. And yeah, oh man, we got a second cup race in a week, but whatever. We're on to week 2, and I'm excited. We've a card full of picks. Let's fucking go.
Hey, listen, and don't knock yourself, because I am thankful for the fact that you are the mouthpiece, because we need somebody out there pounding the pavement for us, and you have gotten us in front of
my wife's always told me I talk a lot, so
well, I mean, that's kind of the
at least I'm putting it to good use now, I guess.
That's part and parcel for the podcast gig, so I think you picked the right profession for you as it were. So listen, for those of you who want a recap like that, make sure you head to the YouTube channel and that graphic will get fine-tuned. Steven says that we have a graphics person in our chat, so we're going to have to hit you up to make a better one. Listen, I'm just best friends with Canva. That's really all there is to it. I know how to work Canva to my benefit nowadays. So that's where I come from. But thanks, Cody, for recapping. Hopefully you did get your pen and paper. And if you really want to see it in written form, in graphics form, we may even throw it in the Discord. So that'll be another way for you to get in the Discord as well. I don't necessarily like always putting picks in the Discord because that doesn't give people a reason to listen to the show.
Yeah.
I don't.
You gotta be on here to get all the picks. So
yeah, indeed. All right. Well then, Cody, I swear that went by. That hour and 11 minutes just went by way too fast.
I know. I just looked up the clock. I'm like, wow, it feels like we just got on. We just got started talking. I was talking before we got on the show. I'm tired today, dragging ass. Man, I don't feel like it anymore. I'm pumped up. I'm excited now. Super Speedway racing again. Let's go. Back tomorrow with Xfinity picks. Make sure you tune in for that. In the meantime, Rod, you can find me on the X at Husker_Zeeb. Follow all my work over there. I got a ton of shit all the time, basically. So just check it all out over there. Head over to the YouTube, click the subscribe, click the bell so you get notified when we're live. You can join all these beautiful people over in the chat. We appreciate all the comments and getting involved with the show, and that helps us feel closer to you. So we appreciate it. Let's be back tomorrow for some Xfinity picks and do it all over again.
Yeah, Cody's not lying. The chat definitely jazzes you up every single time. Those of you that are regulars, we absolutely love you. And hey, good for you guys if you want to go pause too. You can pause that on the picks page. You don't even have to wait. You could just sit there and write it all down. So it's fantastic stuff. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it is Sportsbook Review or In Between Media. Kicking off the back road tomorrow night with Seth. So check us out there, breaking down Atlanta as well. All right, Cody, we'll be back tomorrow with the Xfinity picks for Atlanta. Until then, everyone, enjoy your evening or morning or however you're listening to this. Go Corey LaJoy and let it ride.
Another piece of us is broken.